what would you say is the biggest misconception of your job? Or jobs? Plural.
I'll just say, I guess as a entrepreneurship in the creative world, I'll speak in that aspect because of music, as a musician and as a video producer.
Okay.
A lot of people think it's simple work.
Okay.
That it just happens. Oh, you're creative. Oh, you can come up with something real quick. Most times that's not the case. I think that's the biggest misconception. Is looking at the skill level, and maybe if I came up with something really quick, there is years of experience and years of education, experimental, and years of developing that gift to come up with something that quick.
Right.
But just because it became quick to you doesn't mean that it was the finished product for me. So there's still a extra long process in which something that may look, nice and polished and beautiful, whether it sounds beautiful or look beautiful or it came out beautifully, there's still a lot to it. It's not something as simple as we make it seem. Right. So the misconception is that something that we make seem easy is easy. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Absolutely. And I mean, even thinking about your time in school, all of those years that you went, I like to say, taking ingredients and making your own independent recipe, your own independent gumbo. Like that's really what it's all about. It's like, I think when we have that conversation about school, I don't think enough times we're able to help the young person see that these are just the ingredients.
Right.
There's a whole type of learning that has to go with those ingredients.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Welcome, cultivators. You are tuning in to another edition of the Imagine Exposure Vodcast. I have a very, very special guest. We often say very special, but this particular guest, you've actually heard his work on every one of our major videos. I'm talking about none other than Jack of all trades, does a lot of different things, but for the specific purpose of this interview, we're going to engage him as a videographer and a cinematographer. We were talking to the Shonte Darby of Kingdom Culture Media. Shonte, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Great.
Awesome.
Glad to be on your show, brother.
And there's a lot to talk about. I mean, you're doing a whole lot right now, and so do appreciate you taking time out for this particular interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Yes, indeed. So let's get to the questions. Our first question out the gate is, who are you and how do you define yourself?
Okay, so of course, my name is Shonte Darby. I identify as a creative. Have been created by my father, God himself.
Okay.
So a piece of him is who he created in me. He definitely specialized in creativity when he created me. But that to say, I mean, I'm just my own person, but I have used the gift that he had given me and expanded them in so many ways. Just like you said, say the whole quote, Jack of all trades, master of none, but usually better than the master of one.
Oh, okay, I like it.
So in those, even in that quote, it kind of describes me a lot because I do many different things, but my creative passion is to create music. I've been a musician all my life, as well. That has branched out to doing more video as well. But as a creator, music is my passion. But I've developed other skills in doing video and cinematography as well, just like you mentioned, and also on the road to creating our very own. No, you good. On the road of creating our own. Now I lost the word.
Studio.
Not the studio. We had a TV network. That's what I'm saying. So we're on the road of creating our own TV network as well. So it will encompass all of those things in which I am a musician, videographer, cinematographer. All of that will be featured on our TV network.
That's awesome. That's dope.
That's
dope. Touched on a little bit, but we're going to get into kind of a broader scope. But what is your story as it pertains to work and vocation?
Okay, so of course, just like I mentioned, I grew up playing music. If you ask my mom, I had one of those xylophone little Fisher Price toys, which you could press a button like a piano,
Oh, wow.
and a hammer would come up and hit the xylophone.
Oh, wow.
So she said I would take the melodies that I would hear in commercials and try to play the melodies on this little xylophone, little piano thing.
Yeah.
So basically, I started playing piano, and I was 2, 3, 4 years old, and I've been a musician ever since. I started playing with my uncle, who had a music group or a quartet group since I was 8.
Okay. What's the name?
The name of the group at that time was called the Anointed Echoes.
Okay.
Of Andrews, South Carolina.
Hey,
And
yeah,
then
you know,
before that, they used to be called the Traveling Echoes, which my dad was a part of.
Okay.
So the Anointed Echoes when I came, and then lately known as Men on Fire.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's the same family group. Playing there since I was 8 years old, and playing at my home church in Andrews at Cedar Grove Missionary Baptist Church since I was 10. I played there up until I turned 19.
Yeah.
And the only reason I couldn't play there after 19 is that's when I went to South Carolina State, and I was on a marching band, so I was never able to come home
Back and forth
on Sunday morning. So that's the reason why.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been a musician all my life.
Yeah.
So that has been my first level of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I had to learn how to be my own brand. Your name is everything, and that's all I had.
Yeah.
So, and that came with my character. Developing character is something that was big on my parents. Making sure that you own time, making sure you know the music, make sure you handle your business right, and you represent yourself well. So,
Absolutely.
Outside of that, went to South Carolina State, majored in music education at first. I graduated in a music industry degree. Because I realized in that time that I was more focused on the creative side of music, which the music business. I mean, if you think about it, I've been in the music business all my life as a musician. And traveling all up and down the region with my uncle. So I've been in music business all my life, and that's something that I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
One of my dreams was to own a studio. And if you fast forward today, here we are.
Full circle. Yeah.
Full circle. So how did the video come into play? When I graduated South Carolina State in 2014, and Dr. Beckford, which was my advisor at the time, he was like, what do you plan to do next? And I'm like, well, I guess I better get a job somewhere. He's like, you ever thought about graduate school? I was like, no, I never thought about graduate school. It wasn't even a thought. Yeah. I just wanted to get my bachelor's degree and go teach somewhere, or, be useful, get a job and do something in this space. But he said, I think you got what it takes to do graduate school. So I auditioned at a few schools. LSU was one. UNCG was another one.
Okay.
But Full Sail University fit what I wanted to do personally.
Okay.
Again, with the entertainment business, I looked at the curriculum. It was a exact extension of what I was doing at South Carolina State as a music industry student. It was like I was taking the master level same courses in which I was doing as undergrad. Yeah. And I was like, that's where I need to go. Right. So I went to Full Sail, and what they did for me was they helped me to see entertainment in a wider and a broader spectrum. So they helped me not only to see the music business, but just entertainment business as a whole. And at this time, this is 2014, 2016. Yeah. So social media is booming. So they had us every class. We had to do a YouTube presentation. Wow. And a blog on Blogspot. Yeah. We had to do at that time Tumblr was a popular. So we had to do a Tumblr post every week. Yeah. So it helped me to see, like, in order for me to really be a brand, like, I had to be visible. Right. And it wasn't even at that time where I got into video. After I graduated, I created STD Music Productions, in which that was the company that created your opening music.
Yeah,
That was the
theme
company.
music.
Yeah, that's what I was doing for people.
Okay,
I
okay.
was creating music for brands. I was film scoring, as well as producing music for artists. And then I would create instrumentals for churches who didn't have full bands. You know, I would create the instrumentals for songs in which they didn't have full band. They may just had a keyboard or a drummer, but they want to hear this full sound. So I would create the stems, what they call it, to help them achieve that full sound.
Yeah.
But I had no way of advertising my business. So the Lord told me about a camera.
Okay.
So I bought the camera, and in me learning to advertise my business, I learned how to advertise other people's business.
Wow.
Henceforth, now I got a video production company.
Yeah.
That's how I got into it.
Wow.
Really seeing the value of being more visible.
Yeah.
And then just, following, what the Lord told me to do, buy a camera.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's how it happened.
One of the things I pulled from that story is how many different. Have you ever stopped to think about how many job descriptions you could fill out?
I always had trouble with my resume because I never could tailor it. You know how this until I got the full set. It's like you may need to have a resume for each thing that you do.
Yep.
Even though they tie in, and it kind of goes back to the jack of all trades thing.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine. He actually picks on me with that phrase. He said, "You a jack of all trades, master of a few," instead of master of one. You're a master of a few
For sure.
But I never really. I always had trouble with a resume because of those different things that I did. You know what I'm saying? So, but in my space, resume is not as important as just good communication and good networking in this entrepreneurship space.
For sure.
Once you can show people, also it's almost like having a vitae. Like if someone go to my website, they see the work, that's my resume.
That's the resume. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
that's
agree.
exactly what it is.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. And that's just one of the things that even breaking down from the scope of entrepreneurship, one of the things at schools I try to tell kids is like, if you were to look at all of the different dimensions of what a self-employed entrepreneur is doing, I mean, I've been able to write down at least 14. Honestly, like at least 14 that could literally go in someone else's job description.
Wow.
And I can only imagine you probably have way more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you really think about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think even in terms of what happens when we're trying to grow a business to scale and how do we take those 14, 20, whatever and say, okay, I need you to do this, do this.
Yeah.
And what does that even look like?
Yeah. Well, that's, I think one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs, especially starting up, is learning to delegate once you start to scale.
Absolutely.
And that's where I am right now.
Yeah.
Learning to delegate. And it's not always easy because, again, as an entrepreneurship, your business is your baby.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like trying to find a daycare provider for your business. It's a lot of questions that have to be asked, making sure it's the right fit, making sure that and trusting someone is going to have that same passion and same type of care for your baby.
Absolutely.
So
that's right.
that's another tier. Another tier of being an entrepreneurship, but it's so essential.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree. What would you say is the biggest misconception of your job or jobs, plural?
I'll just say, I guess as a entrepreneurship in the creative world, I'll speak in that aspect because of music as a musician and as a video producer.
Okay.
A lot of people think it's simple work.
Okay.
That it just happens. Oh, you're creative. Oh, you can come up with something real quick. Most times that's not the case. I think that's the biggest misconception is looking at the skill level. And maybe if I came up with something really quick, there is years of experience and years of education, experimental, and years of developing that gift to come up with something that quick.
Right.
But just because it became quick to you doesn't mean that it was the finished product for me. So there's still a extra long process in which something that may look, nice and polished and beautiful, whether it sounds beautiful or look beautiful or it came out beautifully, there's still a lot to it. It's not something as simple as we make it seem.
Right.
So the misconception is that something that we make seem easy is easy. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Absolutely. And I mean, even thinking about your time in school, all of those years that you went, I like to say, taking ingredients and making your own independent recipe, your own independent gumbo. Like that's really what it's all about. It's like, I think when we have that conversation about school, I don't think enough times we're able to help the young person see that these are just the ingredients.
Right.
There's a whole type of learning that has to go with those ingredients.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Let's see. Who are some people, or just who in your vocational story are you the most grateful for?
Can I name multiple people?
Anybody? Yeah.
Oh man, I can start. Well, I'll start with my parents. They gave me an opportunity, even up to this day, from the beginning, providing me with the tools that I need for as equipment. Anytime that I need to go somewhere, anything that I needed, they invested in it, and I mean really invested. Like one of the keyboards that I use to this day is a keyboard that they bought me when I was like 12 or 13 years old. Wow. It was top of the line at that time. Yeah. And people today ask me, "Hey man, can I buy that keyboard off you?" Because it still had value.
Right.
And it was, talking about a 12-year-old with a $2,500 piece of musical equipment. And it's like, this is what they invest in. They believed in what I was doing, invested in that gift. And even up to now, like some of the things that I'm doing, they still invest like a lot of money into making sure that what their child is doing is what they want to do, and they have the resources to be able to do that. So first and foremost, my parents, I shout them out. Next, musical development, I would say, I mentioned my uncle because he gave me an opportunity to, travel the world and play music and learn how to play music. So I shout him out. But my band director in high school, Wendell Williams, who it really introduced me, him and Nielsen Hilton, which was a counselor in the trio program, who really introduced me to different styles of music, who introduced me to Earth, Wind and Fire, James Brown, because I grew up particularly Christian music. Gospel music is the only thing I knew until they introduced me to the different styles of music. Now I can understand the gospel genre a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? I understand where Kirk Franklin get his hip hop style from. I can understand where John P. Key get his funk style from. You get what I'm saying? Like, because now I'm introduced to Earth, Wind and Fire, James Brown, classical music, taking me all the way back to like Beethoven and Bach, learning that style, because a lot of the ceremonies in which our high school had, they would have students to play those ceremonies. And I was one of them that always played the piano at those ceremonies. So they introduced me to the classical music and understanding that that's a different sound than just playing these jazzy gospel chords. That have been a great development, which allowed me to now be introduced to South Carolina State. And two of my biggest influences there is Dr. Grenier, which was my vocal coach, and Dr. Beckford, who was my advisor, and as well as my concert choir director, as well as so many things. I took a lot of classes with him, but he really invested a lot of theory into me, and music theory is a big thing. That's the one thing that most musicians who have a gift, they don't get the theory part.
Okay.
And most classical musicians who doesn't have the ear, the theory is the only thing that they have. Reading music and theory. Right. Most people don't have both. And I was blessed with both. So I'm like Devin Miles. So when I got to my problem was in high school is I used to help write the music for the band in high school. And even the music that I didn't write, I would be in my band director, Mr. Williams' office, listening to the music prior to him passing it out. So now I done heard it. So I don't have to read the music now, because I done heard it. So now I know how to play it. So my ear, just like how Devin is, I can like listen to it one time and I got it.
Wow. Okay.
And so when I was exposed in college by that same thing, because now they put sheet music in front of me and I was like, oh, okay, I ain't as good as I thought I was because I can't read. I didn't have the luxury of listening. So music theory really helped me with that. So people like Dr. Grenier, who challenged me, Dr. Beckford, who challenged me, Mr. Roland Haynes, who challenged me, because he would hear me playing, like in the recital hall or something like that. Say, hey, man, what are those chords you playing? And I couldn't tell him because I didn't know theory like that. So he would challenge me in those areas. So even now, and I mentioned Dr. Beckford was the one that recommended for grad school. Okay. So again, even now, those things that I've learned with those people, as South Carolina State especially, help me to even develop what I'm doing now, even in like video, because now I'm looking for the vocabulary. I even teach my interns, like, learn the language of what you're doing. So say, for instance, a camera. There's a specific language that we use in video, like ISO shutter and, like iris and gain and all of that stuff is, you might hear the word, but it means something totally different in the video world or even in the audio world. You learn the terms. That's theory. So no matter where you are, it's going to be the same. That's what theory is. No matter how you plug it in, your output is going to be the same based on that theory. So it's like math. Addition is going to work the same way. If you add two numbers together, then you're going to equal this specific number. So that's what theory is. And learning everything that I learn now, I try to find the theoretical point of it by learning the language, learn the vocabulary, and then being able to apply it and get that same result every time. Okay, all right. So I jokingly think of myself, I love music, but I don't know anything about what y'all. That's Greek over there. That's Greek over there. So if I can try to break this down, it seems like the theory side is the more objective side. That's no matter how you plug it in, it's gonna work every time in every language, every city, every if I can break this all the way down. You ever heard of what we call Solfege? Do, re, mi,
yes,
fa,
I've heard
sol.
that before. Yep.
No matter where you are in the United States, no matter where you are in the world, if you sing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, it's going to sound the same in every language. That's theory. That's your basic scale. Okay. That's no matter where that's theoretical. That's your what they call diatonic scale. Got it. So no matter where you sing it, in America, outside of America, whether someone speak your language or they don't speak your language, if you sing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, it's going to be the same. Right. That's theoretical. No matter where you are, it's not going to change. There's no way you can bend it. No way. You know what I'm saying? There's no way I can tell you 2 + 2 does not equal 4. I just got an idea for you. We're going to talk about offline now. Okay. I just said, okay. Please finish. Yeah, there's no way in the world that 2 + 2 does not equal 4. Got it. That's theoretical. That's your basic addition. So that's what theory is. It can be proven over and over, no matter how many times someone said it. It can be proven to be the same, no matter where it is. That's theory. Okay. That's theory. What's up? Okay. All right. Getting a little bit. So the closest I can get to it is Questlove, that plays for the Roots. Okay. So he has his own podcast, and they break down a lot of different things. And what's interesting is how often they will reference back to gospel artists. Okay. They'll say, they had Fred Hammond on the other day, and they were like, Fred Hammond is probably one of the most influential in the secular genre because there are people who never got an opportunity to play unless you have to kind of like be established to play. And so most of the people they started in the church. And so he's like the chords that Fred Hammond had, like, you know what I mean? And so when I heard you say that, I was like, there is
that engagement of a lot of different, but I'm even thinking about even how many of the quote the outside artists or ones who never go to church are influenced by the church too.
Yeah,
So it's kind of that dynamic.
I mean, it actually goes all the way back to historical times.
Okay.
About
to break it down.
Yeah.
He about to break it down.
This is what the education. This is what the education taught me.
Yeah.
You know, it goes back all the way back to historical times, medieval times. It was only two types of music.
Okay.
Secular music, sacred music.
Right.
Church music, non-church music.
Let's see.
Yeah, and it's in the same argument they had in Ray. Have you seen the movie Ray?
I remember. I don't have. You have like one of those. What do they call it? Phonograph. Like movie quotes. And I'm like,
I just point.
Devin, who? What? Who are you talking about? What's going on?
But
yeah,
these are films. These are films, by the way.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So in Ray, they criticized Ray for using blues songs.
Right.
It was like, that's a church song.
Yeah.
But it was so much alike. So that's the same thing in sacred music. They tried to keep it separated so much so that there were certain sounds and certain chords they only use in sacred music. And they would have certain sounds and certain chords that they use in secular music. If you intertwine the two,
really? Wow.
you would get put out the church.
That's interesting.
Yes, you can't. No. You will not play R. Kelly
that's real.
in this Baptist church.
No, that's real.
So you see that even in this day. One of the things with Fred Hammond is his sound blends between the two because he have a contemporary sound, but the purity in his voice and his lyrics cannot be skewed to say that this is not sacred music.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying? So that's why he is so influential. So because it gave musicians the ability to learn something outside of the normal church sound.
Got it.
And now be able to apply that when they play outside of the church.
That's deep.
You get what I'm saying?
That's deep.
Yeah. Same thing with Kirk Franklin.
That's a deep conversation. I love it.
I mean, and even John P. Key. And
Oh,
John
yeah,
P.
for
got
sure.
the choir song, but the beat is funky, man.
no,
That's
for
all
sure.
James Brown right
For
there.
sure. Nah, John P. Key was phenomenal. Still is.
Absolutely.
So how would you say, and you've touched on this already, but how did your childhood passions as a kid prepare you for your adult career choice?
Oh, it's everything. The freedom to be able to do what I'm created to do. I don't think a lot of people have that opportunity. Again, my parents supported my creative being as a child.
Oh, that's deep.
I mean, the only thing I had to do was make sure I got good grades in school. But they supported anything I did creatively.
Let's see.
They didn't pressure me and saying, no, you're going to do this, this, and that, and you're nothing else. You get what I'm saying? They supported my creative ability, anything that I wanted to do. As long as I wasn't failing in school or getting in trouble, I was good to go. So now when I have a creative idea, like I don't feel restricted in not going in that direction. Even being an entrepreneur, there's many people that want to be an entrepreneur, start their own business, but they don't have the support of their family.
That's true.
Because it's like, no, like so who gonna pay for this? You know, where you gonna get your money from? Or, because they never walked that path. It's not a safe path for them. So they're going to have that same they're gonna put that same rhetoric in your ear. You
projecting their fears
on you. Absolutely. And I didn't grow up like that.
Wow.
Even though my parents weren't entrepreneurs, but they didn't restrict me in the thing. So, I mean, I grew up as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My name was everything, and when people call me to play music, that's me. I became a business, you know what I'm saying? And learning how to handle the business side of playing. Even though I love what I do, I still had to learn how to price my gift or, make sure people see the value in my gift. Even if I remember when I was young, my dad used to say this, if they want you, they'll come pick you up. And maybe they didn't give me $50 or $100, but they saw the value in what I did and they would drive all the way to the country, some 30, 45 minutes just to pick me up so that I can play at their church or play at their event. They will come pick you up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have to go find a ride. They make sure that I got there, got fed, and got back home safely.
So many lessons.
You know what I'm saying?
So many lessons in there.
So that's a business transaction.
Absolutely.
If you really think about it. And, you know, I grew up like that. So that means those experiences, being able to travel around the world with my uncle, you know, singing. I learned how to conduct myself in other places, which I didn't know, you know. Learn, again, being responsible for the equipment that I have, making sure one of the things that he had rules. And one of his rules were, if we're in the church, we're not going to be like everybody else hanging outside of the church until it's time for us to sing. We're going to sit right here on the front first 2 or 3 rows, and we're going to praise God just like everybody. Like, if we're not singing, if we up there singing, we expect people to be to hang with us. So those were his rules. But the value in that was you're not going to get caught up on the outside things that you're not there for. Right. You know, everybody here, you know, especially around the church, you know, people are, you know, maybe smoking and joking and doing crazy things outside the church, and then they get up and sing and they talk about Jesus. But his values were like, look, no, we're going to go here. If we at a conference or something like that, we are going to participate in the classes in the morning, and then we're going to sing in the afternoon, which a lot of people didn't do. You know, they came, you know, in the afternoon when it was time to sing and time to, you know, show their gift. But nobody participated in the classes in the morning. That's deep. You know what I'm saying? And connect with other people that were doing what you were doing. So I learned a lot of things with in that capacity. And I've been with my uncle since I was 8 years old. Wow. So 10 years of that. Wow. You know, as developing those different lessons, just like you said. So I guess that kind of contributes to everything that I'm doing now because, you know, I had those experiences when I was a kid.
Yeah, and I mean, even so, it's so much, you know what I mean? And that's one of the values of being on YouTube and other places. People can stop, start. But one of the things I thought you said that was really valuable, amongst other things, was about skills in the sense of people will come to find you if you have that skill. Yeah. You know, and it's something we don't, if you're not a musician or you don't think about the fact that if you're in a church in a general sense, you may have only one person who can play the keys or someone who can play anything from a musical standpoint. That's true. And it's so vital to the worship experience. It's a small scale example of what skills look like. Yeah. And when I say small, I'm not saying small in its stature. I'm saying small in the sense of it's one out of many cases that you can see that. You know what I mean? And I just think that, like, that's my heart. I want kids to understand, like, no, like, take time and understand these skills. Absolutely. Like,
I mean, it is so valuable to be able to internalize the experiences that you have, no matter what experience it is. Because essentially, I have a show on my network called Flow with Tip. And one of the guests that she had on her show talked about how our body remembers trauma. So basically, it's written in our DNA. It's written in our bones, our muscle memories, not DNA. It's written in our muscle memory to, if you're, say for instance, if you're in a car accident, right, you're going to remember the events that happened in and around before that accident. So anytime that your body's in the experience where that happened again, it's going to tense up. Or is going to recall those experiences just by muscle memory. So the things that we do as young people, as a child, our body remembers that, embodies that, and we react according to that. So every experience that we have, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether we pay attention to it, whether we're not, our body remembers that environment. So those lessons that you learn, just like I said, I wasn't in a particular household where they shunned upon my gift or my creativity. They actually invested in it. My body remembers that as an adult, said that you have the freedom to do that. You know, and vice versa. You know, if I was in an environment or someone in an environment that's particularly negative and fearful, they are going to remember that as an adult. Like, I'm not going to branch out on any of these things because they don't believe enough in themselves.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying?
No,
So
good.
just like how you said that, it's important for us to remember those skills because our bodies remember those events anyway.
Yeah.
Whether we realize it or not, our body is going to remember those events.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to embrace it, and can be able to control it in a way where it benefits us and not hurts us.
Okay. How would you explain what you do as a professional in a sentence? Then how would you explain what you do as a professional in one word?
In a sentence, my job is to take an idea and create a tangible product.
Or a sentence. Word.
Creative.
Dope. What do you love the most about your job?
Oh, man. It is what I say it is.
That's good.
That's what I love about my job. And that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. It is what you say it is.
It is what it is.
How much do you make? It is what you say how much you're gonna make.
That's true.
How often do you work? You set your own work hours. What product are you offering? It's what I say I'm offering. If I do weddings, if I don't do weddings, if I film this event, if I don't film this event, if I play this type of music, if I don't play this type of music, it is what I say it is. If I'm working today, I'm working today. If I'm not working tomorrow, I'm not working tomorrow. You get what I'm saying? If I choose to answer my phone today, I choose to answer my phone today. If I don't, it is what I say it is. You get what I'm saying? That's the best thing I love about this job. Now, there's consequences to whatever decision that you make. There is a result and effect to whatever you choose to do. But at the end of the day, you made that choice, and there is no boss that tells you that you can't make that choice as an entrepreneur. You just have to live with the choices that you make. And that's a life lesson, honestly. That's the most important thing about my job. It is what I say it is.
So. All right. So we just talked about what you love the most about your job. What would you say is the biggest challenge in your work?
The biggest challenge in my work is living with the consequences in which I say is going to be. As an entrepreneur, you have to learn to be structured.
Yeah.
So even though I said I'm going, just like I said, I choose when I work and I choose when I don't work. But having the structure in place to know what benefits most for your business. Yeah. And then the second hardest thing is when you think about expansion, which I mentioned earlier, you have to trust other people with your baby. Building a business to a point especially as a creative, you want to have control. You want your hand in everything and making sure that you touch every piece. But that's not always the most beneficial as you grow because it becomes overwhelming. So, being able to trust other people with your baby but being structured enough to explain the vision and have everybody on board and create a company culture in which that your vision and everything that represents your brand doesn't tarnish and go in a different direction. So you have to be very intentional about policies and procedures and just creating that company culture and structure. So that's a hard thing to do, especially as a creative, because you just want to create off the fly.
That's real. That's real. Firsthand. for sure.
Yes, sir.
What steps must a person accomplish to either become certified or respected in this profession?
Okay, so there's no particular certification in what I do. I met a guy years ago that said these words. No, you don't have to have a degree to do what I do. But a few of us do. Yeah, a few of us do. Which is a true statement. You don't have to have a degree. But to be respected in this profession, I talk about theory. Yeah. Knowing the language. If you know the language, have good character, being able to be on time, being able to produce a great result, have good communication skills, that's just showing up and just that's like the basic level. Then being able to prove that you know what you're doing, being able to communicate that you know what you're doing, be able to show people that you know what you're doing. People can trust you with their idea, and you produce a superb result. And being able to do that on a consistent basis, that helps gain respect in this profession, in which people can count on you to be able to deliver what you say you can deliver, above and beyond their imaginations. Or if they have a wild imagination, you be able to bring that into fruition based on the skills that you have, or the ability to be able to put people in place to be able to produce that result. And at the end of the day, that's how you get your respect. Just people just knowing your brand and you being able to stick with that. And even having the decency enough to know if you cannot produce that, say that you cannot do it, and maybe we can recommend someone else to do that.
Integrity.
Yes, integrity. You got it. That's integrity. You can't say, oh, yeah, we can do it. And then you like, it don't get done because you know you don't have the capacity to do it. Be able to say, I mean, and that kind of goes against some people's perspective on that, but because some people believe you say yes and then you figure it out. I see that point. Yeah. But you have the opportunity to lose respect. So if you want to be respected in this profession, that integrity is a big piece. Character and integrity is a big piece.
And I see how there's this line between you at 8 years old, you working with your uncle, and now, and the same, like you said, personal brand integrity. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
It's a more complex, robust engagement, but it's literally sitting on the front row.
I've been groomed for this. Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, you're right. Again, yeah. I mean, because what he was doing, he was protecting us.
Oh yeah.
Especially, you hear a lot of things about people in these conferences, church conferences, and all the crazy things that goes on. And I mean, he had his rules. Look, we gonna when we at the conference, we at the conference. When we leave the conference, we're gonna get something to eat at a restaurant. We're gonna sit down, fellowship, and then we're going to the hotel. It was like 2 rooms. It was his room, and his wife and his kids, and then it'd be our room, and they were always connected. Yeah. So it's like you go out and do something crazy if you want to, but you supposed to be in this room. But the thing is, it was always a fun time being together with family. So you ain't trying to get into anything else because we did so many fun things together.
Yeah, I'm even thinking of the dilemma of building it to scale, right? In the sense of how you loved, cared for, and respected your uncle. And whoever you hire, you may not have that same. It's just the nature of relationship. Yeah. And so you're even dealing with the expectation of I would never besmirch his reputation, his name, but knowing that may not be every employee. You know what I mean? Like that's even true. It seems subtle, but
but I think that goes to company culture. He created a culture for us to make us want to be with each other, want to, and it wasn't. He didn't instill fear in us. Yeah. It's just, that's just the culture that he created. And I think that's one thing with the company. I have interns, so I want to create an environment for them so that they can learn this profession, but not afraid for them to not do their own thing as well. That's good. But the things that I do here, I don't want them to feel so pressured in this environment to which they feel overwhelmed. Okay. To want to do, of course you want to do other things, but that they feel good about coming here. They consistently show up. For sure. And I'm grateful because, again, just like you said, you may not have employees that share that kind of value in what you're doing. And, again, what my uncle did is a culture that he created. Absolutely. And that's why company culture is so important, laying down the groundwork. And they can always look back I always look at my uncle and I respect him as a man. So I didn't want to do anything to tarnish his reputation. So I want to create that same culture here to where my interns don't do anything to tarnish this company. because this is Kingdom Culture Media is a Christian company, and we have Christian values. So anything that goes outside of that, you know, is a tarnish of our brand.
It's something different.
Yeah. So I wanted to create that culture. Just like you said, it's that line from the beginning, man. So
absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that because I know you have a big heart and a vision for engaging interns, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I want you to elaborate on that.
Okay.
How does a person negotiate salary or the value of their services in this career choice?
It is what you say it is. Negotiation tactic is, I think the hardest thing about being a creative is like putting a number on your value, and not knowing whether someone is going to accept that number or not. So the no is a hard thing, because people do it to you. You're like, I charge $5,000 for this type of video. It's like, oh, you really high? Like, we weren't expecting to play that much. Maybe we had about $500-$600. So in your mind, you like, oh, I can do it for that. Now you then went 10% from the 100% that you. So like the value you place on your own self,
right?
You made someone say that we only value at $500-$600 because that's what their budget was. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to negotiation, you have to be firm with what you're asking for. And yes, you may be able to do it as a cheaper price, but what that will cost you, So that's the biggest thing about negotiating. What you say your worth is,
and the level of expertise you bring to the situation.
That's true.
The work you put at Full Sail, the work you put at Circle State, the experience. Like you said it best. It was like it's not just that moment; it's the years that created that moment. You know what I mean? For sure.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's say, for example, you were to get into a time machine, right?
Okay.
Based on what you know about your vocation, what advice would you give yourself, your younger self, if you can go back on the first day of the job?
The first day of
so many jobs. let's just focus on the videographer.
Okay.
You can go as far as back as you want.
I would say, man, what advice I would give? I think again it goes back to the value, because even then I studied a lot.
Okay.
So that's, I think, one thing college really taught me, is to study your craft. Like that was really instilled in me in undergrad. Like, of course, I kind of knew how to study in high school, but I tell you, I got away with some stuff because I was smart and gifted. But when I got to South Carolina State, and like I said, Dr. Bedford, Dr. Grenier, and Mr. Haynes challenged me so much in knowing craft, because that wasn't just gift. Like, you had to study. So studying the craft, and I always studied the craft. I remember when I started the entrepreneur side of just music, officially, STD Music Productions, I said that I wanted my business to be structured just like Motown. So I wanted to have a Motown gospel, technically, brand. So I wanted someone specifically to do recordings. I want someone specifically to be able to produce. I wanted to create classes, because a lot of people didn't know that about Motown. The reason why their brand was so tight is because they created courses in which all their artists went by. So they knew how to dress, they knew how to carry themselves, they knew how to communicate, they knew how to talk, they knew how to like when they integrated and started performing overseas, like in the UK, they knew how to greet the Queen, they knew what specific colors to wear. Like, all of that stuff was their grooming process at Motown. So I wanted to create that same thing as a gospel artist. Yeah, go ahead.
But no, I just wanted to, because I want to put a pin in there. I was watching Coolie High the other day. Bruh, Coolie High was a music video for Motown.
Wow.
Look at the credits of Coolie High.
Wow.
Anyway, I just thought that was, like, Motown was please.
Yeah, Motown was more of a, and Barry Gordy said he got the idea from, of course, it's Hitsville, USA. It's
I know what you're talking
Motor City.
Yeah. Okay.
So like Ford and GM, they had their departments. There's a specific department that created this part of the car,
Right.
and then that car goes to this part, and
Right.
then it goes to this part. He
Right.
said he created that same thing with Motown. He had his specific background singers for every
makes
song.
sense.
His specific band, the Blues Brothers. He
makes
had his
sense.
writers. He had his copywriters. He had his lawyers. Like everything was streamlined.
Yep.
So that's what made Motown so effective, and they was able to produce music at a high rate.
Right.
And #1 albums, like at a high effective rate, and straight from the songwriting all the way to like Billboard charts. It was a specific system, and I studied that system in creating SDD music production. That's what I wanted to do.
Got it.
So, like I said, the studying aspect of understanding how business works is essential to, and one of the things I would say on the first day of the job is trust what you study, trust what you know, and be more confident in your ask when it comes down to negotiating price or negotiating your worth. You're worth a lot more than you think. You know, and still to this day, my mentors on me like that. It's like, you don't charge enough. And that's one thing I struggle with.
Yeah. Something you said that I thought was very significant. Going back throughout our interview, we talked about that's something that we really don't teach in school, like in the sense of entrepreneurship or kind of that vision. Can you teach what Berry Gordy did? In the sense you can engage his the history and breakdown and that sort of thing. But how many other people worked at that plant? How many other people saw what he saw every day? But he took the ingredients of that plant and said, I can transition that into Motown. You see what I'm saying? Like that's the tension I have with entrepreneurship is like, there are certain things that I believe God in His grace has blessed certain people that just we can see it, and it's like, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. Everybody is just you know what I mean. So I think that's my tension.
Position.
That's my tension.
I think that's just how we were created, right? Some people are created to be entrepreneurs. Some people are created to play a specific role in a specific business.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it. They are essential.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They are essential.
Absolutely. I wrestled with that tension of like how many other people saw what Berry Gordy saw, but he was like, no, that's boom, boom, boom. And when you said that, I think about like even the Temptations movie. I don't know if you remember that, where they test every the music that went out there. That's a research and development.
They're still doing it. They still do that in the film industry.
What? Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So they have a screen test. So most time it goes to like 2 or 3 screen tests before it comes released to the public.
Out. Wow. Okay.
So the movie that you see today is probably the movie that they shot. It done been through editing 3 or 4 times to see whether it tests well on screen. And so they have different people that are well known in the industry to see whether this movie is going to project it what they want it to do in the box office. So is it going to captivate the audience, which it's shooting for? Will it cross just the audience that is maybe made for? Will it work overseas? Or like, what will be the projected numbers? That's how, a film get released or not. If it doesn't perform in the screen test, then it's probably not going to perform well in the box office. So that means the studios is not going to take a chance of releasing that film because they'll lose a lot of money.
Okay, absolutely. Let's 3 more questions. How do you prepare yourself to transition from this role? And this kind of goes back to what you were talking about with like long-term vision and internship. How do you plan to transition from your role?
Man, being able to trust somebody with this baby. So I'm in transition now, honestly. Okay. I'm not transitioning out. I'm just in a role in which I'm doing more administrating. So I created, with all the shows that I produce now, I created what we call Kingdom Culture TV. And y'all should check that out. Kingdom Culture TV. Matter of fact, you can type in kingdomculture.tv and it'll take you to our YouTube channel, which I have 3 videos. The short video is basically what we're going to do. The second video is the Q&A talking about basically some of the shows that we have online and how we plan to streamline that. And then the last video that's up there currently to this date is the importance of Black media, the importance of Black owner media. And I kind of go back to explain like how important Black owned media is to our culture and our development as a people, Black people. So yeah, go check that out. And with I'm in transition now, but what I created was Kingdom Culture TV. You can actually go to kingdomculture.tv right now and you'll see 3 videos. One is a short video talking about what we're doing. The second video talking about, it's a Q&A, me going in depth of like some of the shows that are being produced and, you know, with the direction we're going in with Kingdom Culture TV. And then the last one is the importance of Black-owned media, which talks about the historical impact Black-owned newspapers or Black press has been for the movement of people. So you can see that right now. But kingdomculture.tv creates what it creates a company, that expansion of Kingdom Culture Media, because one thing I wanted to do personally is be able to create scholarships, create internships for students who want to get into media that looks like me. If the historical sense of media doesn't take us in consideration. So we're not behind the cameras, we're not producers in shows. Historically, we are shaped from white point of view. So a lot of our perspective and our stories don't get told. And if they are told, we don't own any major studios. We don't own any major networks. We don't own any major Hollywood. So
would you put Tyler Perry in it?
Tyler Perry has created his own
He's an
lane.
anomaly. Okay. Okay. Right.
But that's what I'm saying. But we was able to name one guy who did it.
That's it.
One. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, Oprah Winfrey have a network as well.
Right.
But we are naming these people.
Right.
But we don't. Who owns TV?
That's true.
TBS. Who
This
owns
is true. No.
CNN? You know what I'm saying? So like being able to create more outlets for us. And that's what Kingdom Culture TV, which add a clean entertainment aspect to it, because of course we're a Christian company, we have morals and values, and there's just certain things that we're just not going to endorse on our network. But there's a need for that because you have families which want to see certain things and not have to worry about their son or daughter being exposed to something too soon.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're doing. But that network creates jobs. For people like me. It creates internships, which I have 2 interns, and hopefully in a few weeks I have a lot more. I have a partnership with South Carolina State University Music Industry Department.
No, you a alumnus?
I am a proud alum of South Carolina State University. Go Bulldogs!
Yes,
I'm a loyal son and daughter.
Same here, class of 2010.
Come on, class 2014. Yeah, man.
Sir.
So I had that direct pipeline to the music industry department. Hopefully I can get in the communications department.
Dope.
In a few weeks, I'm going to be connecting with Benedict College here in Columbia to be able to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, awesome.
So again, it gives an avenue for students who want to learn journalism, want to learn broadcasting, learn how TV works, learn how film industry works, learn how music industry works. All of that is done here with Kingdom Culture Media and Kingdom Culture TV. Also creating jobs as we be able to get our funding up, be able to also provide a opportunity for people who are writers, people who are who have screenplays, people who have movies, people who done documentaries, who maybe not have gotten their film or show, people who have podcasts, video podcasts, that may not have an outlet to be able to get their stuff greenlit by a film festival, or just have no way to put out their content. This is a place in which they can do that as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just being able to have that funnel. So as that grow, that would be my transition to allow the business to run itself. So yeah, that's this is my life's work, man.
Yeah.
Kingdom Culture TV is my life.
I love it.
Work.
I love it.
It is because it's a benefit. it's more benefit to our people as a culture, and being able to foresee things for our young people. You know what I'm saying? This is a social media age, so this network is specifically tailored for social media outlets. It's bringing terrestrial TV to the internet. So as if you was watching Fox, you know, or TBN, like I mentioned, or CNN, is bringing those, you know, they have program shows, ESPN, you know, Sports Center, and then, you know, like different shows that comes on at different times. It'll be shown on the internet. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be streamed on the internet. So these different shows that I have, Craig and Kobe show, Flow with Tip, which I mentioned earlier, which is mental. We do a lot of therapy type topics, which is real, just basically real talk. Craig and Kobe the same way, real talk television. The Black Couch, which it's my show, personal show that I interview entrepreneurs and talk about how they got started in their industry. And basically is a way to encourage people who wants to start or do things in the community. How did someone else do it? It's like, oh, I can do that too. You know what I'm saying? Because it demystifies entrepreneurship in a way. You know what I'm saying? Another show, well, I have a couple films. Two of the films is Use Your Voice, which I created, both Use Your Voice 1 and Use Your Voice 2, which talk about the importance of politics and voting. So I wanted to shed a light on that aspect because, again, like a lot of us don't know what the political process is, but we're affected by it every day. So being able to show that. Another film that we are in development to be free is one talk about growing up in an abusive relationship or an abusive home and how that affected their marriage. You know what I'm saying? That's a film talk about that forgiveness, where a mom neglected their son to drugs, got clean, and the son resented to mom for what he grew up in, but had to forgive his mom because his mom was the only one available to take care of him when he got sick. So, you know, things like that we see in the Black community all the time. Just being able to put on a network people can see and watch, and like I said, it's clean entertainment, you know, for us. So it's life work, man. It's my life's work, and how I plan to transition out of it is being able to build it to a place where it can run itself, but still provide opportunities, scholarships, and internships and jobs for our people.
That's an incredible vision, man. That's awesome. That's an incredible vision, and I pray and I hope that you see it through. That God opens many doors and it works out.
Absolutely,
does wonders.
I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to it. Cultivate Countdown. Very difficult to scale down whatever you do in 3, 5, 7, whatever steps.
Okay.
But what would you say are some of the essential steps to be good at what you do?
Man, I think first thing is recognizing that you have a gift or a passion. The second thing is studying that industry so that you can be well versed in that industry. You may not know it all, but at least have enough knowledge about it and do enough research on it to be able to ask the right questions or be able to link up with the right people. Okay. And the third thing is just get out and start doing it. 1, 2, 3.
Sounds like a plan. That's it. You know, you got to actually execute for sure. Our last major question is, what is one motivational quote? When we put out the meme, we put out the banner that has you on it, what is your quote?
My quote is, I hope that my art be a voice for someone else.
That's good.
I hope that the art that I create be a voice for someone else.
Awesome.
And that came from a film I watched. I can't think of the film. It's a not a Nate Turner film. Is Nate Turner the guy? Nate Parker film. Nate Parker film. He made a film over the pandemic dealing with his, I think it was his son got shot in the film.
Oh, okay.
And they basically brushed over the case. Yeah, his son got shot in the film, police brutality. Okay. And they just kind of brushed over the case and didn't really make it anything. So he make it his it made it his business to not kidnap, but he held hostage police officers in the precinct and made them and put them on trial. And he had a documentarian to document the whole thing.
Wow.
From his perspective.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that was discussed, and the real truth came out about, you know, what happened that night, and how they speculated and profiled, and they jumped the gun and they tried to cover it up. So everything that happened there. So on the way out, he knew he wasn't gonna make it out. He knew they was going to kill him on the way out.
Yeah.
Sniper got the okay to kill him on his way out.
Wow.
And he knew that was going to happen. So he told the documentarian that you make sure that this video get told from my perspective. And in that, it was like, it hit me because I'm a documentarian and I capture things.
Yeah.
And it's my job to be able to be a voice for someone who's not able to speak. Because in that film, he wasn't able to tell his story or his side, but they documented it from his perspective, from the beginning to the end.
No, that's real.
Yeah. So I hope my art be a voice for someone who's not able to express, you know, themselves adequately.
Man, that's deep. I gotta check out the film.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the film, but it's a Nate Parker film.
Okay, I have to look it up. Okay. Any final thoughts? Any places that you want our viewers to go? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, my life passion, KingdomCulture.tv. Watch the Q&A. And if you are compelled to give, I have a club membership. You can go to KingdomCulture.club and donate, or you can check out some of the merch. I'm wearing one of the t-shirts here. I have coffee mugs and tumblers and stuff on there. But if you just want to be a blessing, because you hear the vision of what we're trying to do, KingdomCulture.club, you can donate. KingdomCulture.tv, you can check out the videos and dig more deeply into it.
Absolutely.
We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, KingdomCulture.tv.
Well, Shonte, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
Expert analysis, your experiences, your stories. Our hope is that it will help the next generation work smarter. Work smarter and not just harder. Yeah. And that's the hope. And so really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
And if any of your viewers see this video and they want to connect with me personally, they can. Shonte Darby. I'm sure I'll be tagged in the video in some way.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.